I don't know where Don Jr. is coming from on this one. Maybe he's in a giant sauna, or he's trying to break out of a giant sauna, or he's at Camp Crystal Lake doing Friday the 13th cosplay. But this video is about the Dobbs issue, the fact that the SCOTUS, in the investigation, the marshal of the court didn't find out who did the leak because they didn't interview the spouses. I think is mainly why, because it was Ginny Thomas. It was. I mean, we can all kind of safely say, in my humble opinion, from everything that makes sense in reality, Ginny Thomas just fucking barked it out over dinner. They didn't even need to know the details. They just needed to know it was happening. This idea that they leaked the actual language of it is bullshit and unnecessary. All she had to say was, they're going to do it. And that was enough for the people who she was operating with. So, anyways, and again, he's, hello, darkness, my old friend. I don't know where he is or why he is. The screen seems to be taken off over here, or that's a mirror. Or I don't know where. It's like he goes on these odd little hunting trips to try and pretend he's a man. It's
weird. My God, guys, they did it again. They got away.
Oh my God, guys, they did it. They got away from it. They got away with it. The Supreme Court, and he's already reading. He's already fucking reading look at his eyes. Oh my God, he got all the way through. Oh my God, 2 seconds. Look at the counter on there. 2 fucking seconds, and he had to look at his. Oh my God, guys, they did it again. The Supreme Court, he hasn't even, he has to look before that. Yes, oops, they did it again.
Away with it again. In breaking news, the Supreme Court has released a statement that after 8 months of investigation, they are shockingly unable to identify who leaked the draft Dobbs decision.
Because they didn't talk to Ginny Thomas. He does realize this is like a Trump court. They are overwhelming. There's no reason for the conservative judges to run interference for the liberal judges, and the liberal judges have no reason to not be forthcoming about this stuff. This was a right-wing leak from within there. It clearly came from the Clarence Thomas wing somehow, because you can follow the chain of the people who were on the Whisper campaign in the first fucking place.
Right? I have a feeling if it was a Republican and it was benefiting the pro-life movement, they'd have found...
It was supposed to. This was supposed to benefit the pro-life movement. This was before the primaries. If it had come out when it come out, it was too close to the primaries to make a material difference for the maggots to be able to gain some ground using their pro-life moniker. And they're like, this is happening because Donald Trump and his Supreme Court are fulfilling their vision, and we were right, and my middle-of-the-road rhino competitor in the primaries, it can go fuck himself. I was on the side of Trump, and Trump is who made this happen. The leak was to benefit Republicans. They are, because without it, this was one of those areas where they were kind of slave to their base. And without some kind of movement forward on this, because believe me, the only reason Amy Coney Barrett was put on that court was for Dobbs, for this. It's the only reason she's there. And Trump, all the evangelicals who held their nose and voted for him, never mind the Flashpoint guys who voted for him because he's a fucking pig and they wish they could be, like Kuhneman and all that crowd. But the ones who were like, all right, I'm pro-life, and this is the one thing, if he does the judges, and they're not liberal judges, they will stop abortion and they will overturn Roe v. Wade. That was all. They didn't give a fuck about anything else. Everything else changes. Governments come and go. Budgets come and go. Priorities come and go. Nobody gives a shit. But this is for the long haul. This is their eternal soul. And they needed to be handheld and dragged to the polls and vote for maggots in the primaries. And again, there was a rise in Democratic voters because of it, but it wasn't a necessary rise. It was that ruling those people, as a matter of fact, would have been more outraged if it had come out when it came out naturally in June. If it was sprung on them, if it wasn't leaked, if it came out in June, there wouldn't have been a time to have a conversation and slow down the anger about it. It would have been closer to being an October surprise than released in, a month and a half earlier. There's no benefit to Democrats releasing that 6 weeks before. The Democrats are all, but one, incredibly pro-choice. And then the one person who's pro-life is still pro-choice in the prospect of it. He just doesn't want, third-term abortions on demand for no medical reason in the last 8 days of a pregnancy. Like, that's how women operate. And nobody is. That's just fucking lunacy. And the picture it paints of women is misogynistic beyond compare. But there was no benefit to the Democrats or to liberals in general or the voter bloc to release the Dobbs ruling any earlier, because it was coming out naturally in June. Democrats were already on board with this, and it would have, no matter who was running in these primaries, whoever won in the Democratic primaries was going to be pro-choice and would have had the same outraged response to it. This was meant to tip the scales during the Republican primaries.
On the person in about 3 seconds, okay?
Okay. Well, hold on, I see. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about.
If it was a Republican and it was benefiting the pro-life movement, they'd have found the person in about 3 seconds.
Okay. The other thing is, why would the release of that opinion, which ended up being the draft opinion ended up being exactly what was released in June, why would that not benefit the pro-life community? It is a promise fulfilled for that crowd. Of course it benefited them. The only reason it didn't benefit them in terms of, it was one of the reasons why there wasn't a red wave, among others, but the only reason it didn't help them is because in their mind, they actually think that's what America really wants. They believe this, we're really the majority thing.
Okay? If you're really serious about identifying the leaker, you don't turn the investigation over to the Supreme Court marshal, who has no actual experience or expertise in conducting sensitive investigations. If you want accountability...
Yeah, because shit like this doesn't normally happen. But also, he knows all the justices. He knows their spouses. He knows their friends and family. He knows the staff.
If you want credibility with the people...
what people would these be? I don't... The people. Never mind. It's Americans. The good real America.
You don't do that.
No, you don't. You wouldn't give it over to the marshal of the court who spends every day at doing legal shit at the Supreme... Oh, whatever.
Speaking of accountability...
Okay, good. My dad...
this kind of nonsense and the fact... that they can't find something like this in D.C. Means that accountability is out the window for the elites. Remember when...
For the elites. You mean like Ginny Thomas? You mean people who are married into the Supreme Court and somehow become unfucking touchable? What elites? Even if you believe the liberal staffer bullshit that these guys want you to believe, that person's not an elite. That person's not... they do the work, and like the clerks in the Supreme Court, they do a lot of the work, but they don't get any of the accolades. They don't have lifetime appointments. Every member of everybody's staff could be broomed in an instant.
Brett Baer indicated that the SCOTUS investigation leak was proceeding intensely. Despite all that...
That's because he talked to, Alito.
Intensity. So many people here, myself included, knew that nothing was going to happen, knew that they'll get away with it because the left always gets away with it. Again, if this was breaking for the right, no way.
No way. All right. Again, this did not break for the left. We did not need a 6-week running start in spring and summer of this year, of last year, to get people to the polls. The closer it got, if they'd have released this in fucking August, the turnout would have been bigger. If anything, if there was like liberal subterfuge in the fucking SCOTUS, what they would have done is delayed it somehow, find a way to delay the proceedings there so that they couldn't release this until closer to the election, because it would end up being, like I said, more like an October surprise.
They'd have had this person, they'd have put him in jail, they'd have given him whatever punishment, the harshest punishment imaginable, like we've seen.
We've not seen the harshest punishment imaginable for any fucking leaker. What is he talking about? The Jan 6 people are released on their own fucking recognizance unless they threaten to murder again immediately.
If we think this is a...
Yeah, he thinks they're being tortured. The idea, because they're being forced to eat prison food like the rest of the prisoners.
Coincidence, and you pretend that this is real and they're not lying to you, you haven't been watching anything for the last few years.
You mean during your dad's presidency?
I don't believe this even a little bit.
Believe what?
It's remarkable how they can't get to the bottom of anything when it's motivated by a certain political ideology.
Again, where you have to establish that it's that the certain ideology is the left, or is Democrats or liberals. If you can't establish that, you can't establish which way they're trying to throw it.
When it motivates an entire political base against conservatism, despite all-time disasters coming out of the Democrat Party, whether it be inflationary, whether it be wars, whether it be the economy, etc.
Yeah, we are out of Afghanistan, I would just like to say, and there are no American boots on the ground in Ukraine that don't want to be there. I mean, there's some Foreign Legion people and some people who want to be there, but they're not American troops. Again, the other thing is, I hate to keep hammering this, but it would have benefited Democrats if the news came out later,
etc., etc. Right? The same way.
Yes, gibberish, wackadoodle, wackadoodle.
Obama magically seemed to know the outcome of Obamacare before it was made public. That's how this happened.
He magically knew the outcome because he believed it was going to go one way, and they were recognizing by the questions they were being asked, and their lawyers were talking to him and like, I think it's going to go this way. They seem to be focused on this one thing. We got over that hump. The other side wasn't able to articulate this.
They're covering it up.
Covering what up? Covering what up? Ginny?
This is sick. Okay, I don't trust any of these people anymore. And he's got such trust issues with Clarence and Roberts and Alito. I genuinely believe that they know.
It's that I think it was Amy Coney Barrett personally. I think that's. I mean, she didn't vote to keep your dad in office. I'm just saying.
Know who it was, but they won't tell us because it would hurt their institutions that they're trying to protect. Okay, again.
Yeah. Yes. I agreed. Apparently, the conservative side of the court thinks it would be really bad if people knew that Ginny Thomas fucking flapped her lip at lunch with some evangelicals and they went and told everybody.
Again, if the leak affected the left, they would have found the culprit in seconds, right?
In seconds. Seconds. Is that a suburb of DC or seconds?
Sunlight is the...
It's seconds, Virginia.
It would hurt their institutions that they're trying to protect, okay? Again, if the leak affected the left, they would have found the culprit in seconds. Right?
In seconds. I mean, if you're going to accent a word, maybe that's it's got a very alrighty then kind of a feel.
Right? Sunlight is the best disinfectant, but guess what, guys?
No, it isn't. I'm just going to say, like peroxide and Bactine. A lot better than just what's wrong with that big wound? I don't know. Stick it out a window.
They're going to keep perpetuating these lies.
They're going to keep perpetuating these lies. I don't know what lies he's talking about that they didn't know, or that they did know and they're not. He's starting to lose track. He's looking at his notes. He's reading probably 2 lines above where he was and trying to jump down to his conclusion. And he's kind of painted himself into a corner.
I'll never trust anything that comes out of these buildings again. And I've been a skeptic for a long time because I've borne witness to this. I've been attacked by these clowns.
He was attacked by Ginny Thomas?
Yet another one of those.
I don't doubt that. I think she was probably sloshed at a Christmas party and tried to slip him the tongue.
Things that magically, all of a sudden, as long as it's,
as long as it benefits the left, then they get away with it. They always get away with it. They always get away with it. But never mind my dad's just constant criminality in New York. Calling fucking Forbes, pretending to be John Barron, getting himself on the Forbes list when he doesn't deserve to be, when he's broke as fuck. He's faking his name, calling Forbes as his own publicist, saying Trump is super rich, and at the same time telling his own daughter that bums on the street have more money than he does. They keep getting away with it. I will never trust these people ever again.
It's like the Epstein client list, right?
Your dad's on it.
Trump was on that list, it would have leaked, or at least his name would have leaked, and they would have covered up all the Democrats. He's not on that list because it didn't.
Because it didn't. It didn't? The list didn't? The list refused to? Because it didn't leak? Because it didn't. I don't know what it didn't.
This is scary stuff. The license to leak. Now they're going to do this.
Oh, he wrote license to leak on the paper. This is like watching Greg Gutfeld after he's been testing increasingly poor helmets.
They're going to weaponize it, knowing that there's no consequence for them. That'll endanger these decisions. That will sow discord and distrust in our institutions and our government.
Dude, you don't trust them anyways. You never did because you say they can't be trusted. What are you going to get? Less trusting than never?
Governmental bodies, as if we don't have enough of that after the last few years. And
of your dad's presidency?
Again, it's not likely to change because they've been able to weaponize it for themselves to protect the Democrat elite and their cronies.
I don't know how. I don't know where. I don't know what. This is the 2 main ways this got out was Amy Coney Barrett's crowd and Ginny Thomas. These are the 2 windows. Everybody else, loose lips sink ships. And again, Democrats would have benefited if it came out later.
What's clear? Any kind of deterrent for this future unethical behavior is now clearly out the window, and they're
well, yeah, because Ginny Thomas thinks she has a license to blab.
Going to keep doing it.
And by they, he means Clarence and Ginny.
It's absolutely sick. And guess what, guys? If the FBI would have been put in charge, they too wouldn't have found anything because we've seen what's come out of the FBI in the last few years. And let's not pretend that they've done anything for conservatives, right?
Let's not pretend that they haven't done anything for conservatives. I mean, maybe it's just the track record of federal crimes that you guys are committing. I mean, what are they supposed to do? Turn a blind eye to all the pedophiles that were selling child porn or passing it around that were in Trump's campaigns all over the country? Is the FBI supposed to walk past them because it would be a blight on conservatism?
There's a double standard and there's unequal justice under the law.
Unequal.
Based on your political ideology. And
ideology. Yeah, the strata, the bedrock.
We're driving that point home once again as...
Look, he wrote down, drive that point home. And then he read it.
There's a double standard, and
the double standard is what he's supposed to be saying. He wrote, there's a double standard, there's unequal justice. Drive that point home. Like, really sell that. Whoever sends him his scripts from the fucking Heritage Foundation or whoever the fuck, they wrote, drive that point home. And then he read it.
Unequal justice under the law based on your political ideology And we're driving that point home once again, as always. It's sick and it's sad and it's got to stop.
It's sick and it's sad and it's got to stop. Well, fucking your dad has Ginny Thomas's fucking phone number. Why are you bitching at us? You lonely, poorly lit lunatic. There's this, as portraits go, I call this one sadness on wood. The sadliest sadness of the sad that sad has ever had. He's super sad, and I'm super serious. You know he can't write it down. He reads everything from a teleprompter. I think Spherical Man, I think what they do is they send him a printout. Or someone writes Post-its. And that's what he used to do. He used to put them up. And then I think he got sick of me calling him out. So I'm just going to take credit for this shit. Why not? And now he's getting lazier. So he just has the sheet. They send him what he's supposed to say. And he's like, he's so fucking tied to it. And he refuses to actually say anything of merit or do any actual fucking work because he's a lazy third generation rich kid. So he's got this thing there and he can't even get through the opening fucking sentence. I'm sorry, I'm disgusted. Jesus Christ, get a job. You're watching Hal Sparks Mega Worldwide. He posted that. Yeah. Don Jr. He's sick, he's disgusted, he's upset.